Well, one of the things that really comes to my mind is that after Deacon Nina kind of organized our committee approach to participation in faith into the five ministry categories: worship, learning, service, support, and witness. The element of worship is actually well served by the upgrades of the audio and visual improvements that we made back in the 2016 and 2017 timeframe, I think it was, and that certainly has been a godsend. It was an inspired decision, I think, in my mind, that those upgrades were made at that time, because as the pandemic came upon us in 2019, we were prepared. The congregation was prepared to put the worship service out to the community, to the congregation, and to the neighborhood at large. And I think that was just a wonderful way that Faith has responded to this ministry excellence in times of pandemic.
Have you had any personal experiences where you've been just really appreciative of Faith's presence, even though so much other stuff has obviously changed? Where have you seen Faith being steady in your life?
The thing that continually comes back into my mind is the pivot that this congregation went through, and that pivot for me, in my recollection, began in March of 2016, when a certain Reverend John Clowder came upon us and started his ministry here with us. The unrelenting force that he brought into this congregation for us to look outside of ourselves, to think outside of the box, so to speak, to look for new ways to serve God's people at both, not only within the congregation, but in the Forest Lake area, as well as the community at large. And that began in, I think, in a very simple way, to get people to think, what can I do? Where are my passions? And I think it all began with the $100 challenge. That $100 challenge put $100 in the hands of 10 different congregate members' hands, and they were told, do whatever you want with this money. And I think one of the things that came back that really impressed me was the teenage girls that developed the program for Rangers Feeding Rangers, and it just expanded from there. And then the next step was the mission grants to provide funding dollars for people that have a passion in ways that fit into one of those categories: learning or service or support. And there are some new things that have really come to the forefront. Living through addiction is one of the newest ones. Small, tiny houses for veterans, or the Sacred Settlement, of course, is another way. Refugee support comes to mind, and the list goes on and on about how the congregation has responded to activities outside of the congregation. On a personal note, since I've had a kind of a change in my health, I've been a little isolated from activities at the congregation, like many of you have. But the support that people have provided during my illness, which continues, cards and letters and hand-drawn pictures from children, telephone calls, and I even had there was a lady in our congregation that hand crocheted a prayer shawl for me, and that prayer shawl was a comfort during some of those times when I was recovering from chemotherapy, to when I was cold and uncomfortable, to put that shawl around me. It was talk about support. This congregation has always been that way, and it continues to be that way. And it's a blessing to not only myself, to all of those within the congregation and into the community.